Welcome to the CCBO Capacity Building webinar series. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the land we at CCBO live on and are proud to call home, the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda Nations, the Métis Nation Region Number 3, and all the people who make their home on the Treaty Region of Southern Alberta. As a settler and guest on this land, it's important for me to acknowledge and give thanks to this place I'm grateful to call home. This series is focused on topics that will help nonprofit professionals and the organizations they work with build their capacity and strengthen their impact. Thank you to our sponsors, Land Solutions and Altitude Communications, for their support of the CCBO webinar series. If you're watching this webinar live, we encourage you to post your questions in the question box, which you'll find on the right of your screen for the live Q&A portion and also Kirsten's follow-up blog post. And for this webinar on branding shifts for nonprofits, 3 strategies to be seen and heard through online noise, we're joined by Kirsten Hewer. Kirsten is also joining us today from Treaty 6 and 7 territory, which the city of Red Deer resides. Kirsten is the co-founder of Nonprofit Today and creator of the 5-pillar social media content system and Brand to Impact, the branding program for small nonprofits. Since 2008, she has used branding, marketing, and design to help nonprofits communicate the heart of their organization, connect with their audience, and achieve their missions. With over 25 years of industry experience and lessons learned from working with over 500 nonprofit projects, Kirsten is skilled in collaborating with nonprofit organizations to make sure they have a clear message and the traction they need to spread it. Thanks so much for joining us today, Kirsten.
Awesome. Thank you very much for the intro, Mary. I'm so excited to be here. And I will just dive right in because I know we have a very short, or like, you want to be on time, and I also want to value your time today. So thank you so much for joining, and let's just keep going. Okay. Branding shifts for nonprofits. So this is one of my absolute favorite topics. We have been working with nonprofits for the last 10 years, and so we have gained a lot of experience. We know about especially struggles of small nonprofits, and I know how important branding has become to set yourself apart and really cut through the online noise. So what we will learn today, we are focusing on 3 learnings. One is the 3 branding pillars. The second is your messaging ecosystem that really arises from those 3 pillars. And the third one is the right systems. So I really want to to bring you today a little bit out of your day today. Because usually, like, I don't know about you, but oftentimes, like, our day looks like this. We are sitting there in a cockpit, like, trying to navigate through a storm, new messages all the time. So really, it's hard to stay on focus and to really reach our destination. So today, I just want to ask you to really, like, set all of this, like, put it away and follow me up here. So, because the view is always better 30,000 feet above. And so doing that, while I was preparing for the presentation, I'm always looking like for trends. So for 2021, I looked at the Deloitte Global Marketing and Trends Study, and you can just, if you want to screenshot this, the source is at the bottom of the screen, and you can look it up. It's really interesting. So basically, what they found out is there are like 7 trends to focus on in 2021 and beyond. And I don't want to go in all of them in detail, but what really stood out for me that that really purpose is the #1 thing to focus on 2021 and above and beyond. So the second is agility, human experience, trust, participation, fusion, and talent. And especially, I think for nonprofits, like this is huge. Like, purpose is why we all started what we do. And I think this is a huge advantage in terms of cutting through noise, because for-profit organizations, they might have a purpose, but they are not really good in communicating it. So I think nonprofits really have an advantage when it comes to this. And so agility is really adjusting quick to the circumstances. And what also really stood out for me is the human experience. So I don't know about you, but during especially the last year with COVID, like, the human connection has become so important. Like, how can we connect with each other while being online and digital? So this is like one of the top trends for 2021. And then, of course, like, how can we build trust? How can we get people to participate with what we do? And then how can we find the talent and put fusion in all of this? So I looked into, like, I don't want you to bombard you with stats, but Facebook has 2.74 billion monthly active users. Instagram 1.15. So you can imagine, like, with this amount of people daily being online and consuming, it gets harder and harder to be seen. So, and what I would like you to follow me today is with that we really, like, shift our focus from sharing just content to really being conscious and sharing a message, because the content comes from a message, and if we don't have a message that is aligned with who we are and what we want to achieve, it gets really, really hard. So if you want, you can screenshot this, and I will say that a couple of times during the presentation, screenshot. So just to keep you engaged and just to save, like, the most important things. So let's chat about branding. So I know there is a lot of different thoughts what branding is, and I think everyone has heard by now that it's not just your logo and not just your website, but really, like, it's, I don't know about you, but branding is really something that is easy to grab. Like, it's really not tangible. And that is, I think, why a lot of people are so focused on design and web and social media, because this is what you can see. So, but really why branding is so important and what really is it all about is stories. So stories in other people's minds and in yours and in that of your staff, your board members and everything. So the question really is, how can we create stories that align with what we want to say? Because if you, for example, and that is the problem, if you don't have it written down, if you have no documentation, the story dilutes over time. And even if you think about, you tell someone in your organization something, you share a message, and then they share it, and they have their own interpretations. So everyone adds a little piece to it. So if you share it to 100 people, 100 people will have a different interpretation. So this is just a screenshot from Instagram, and the question is, how do people experience your brand, and not just in the look of it, but also in terms of what do you do, how do you come across, how even on the phone, in one-on-one interaction, how do they experience you? I will go in and really show you the 3 steps during the presentation. This is just for you. Maybe after the webinar, take a screenshot of all the things that you do, or take a picture and really think about, is what we bring across cohesive, and what does it look like? So really what it all comes down to, we need to be really good at conducting because there are many different people that need to hear the message, and we want to keep it as concise as possible. So what does it look like? How can we translate this? So bird's eye view. So this is usually what happens a lot of times. Like the eye at the top is the vision, and like all the crosses on this page are like the different things that you put out. And you know what? It just happens because we, on a day-to-day basis, we think, okay, we need to post something valuable. We need to post something at all. So what do? Like we post different things, and we don't really think about, does all of this really align with what we want to say and do? So, and then you can see that maybe only like 6 of the things that you share actually align with what you want to achieve. So where do you start? You can take a screenshot of this. These are really good questions to ask. So the first question is like, is what you offer something that really actually want to support? And there's a difference between I know that our service and our offer is correct and that's what they want, and really communicating it. So are you communicating it in a way that they want, and is it actually something that they want? And then the next one is, are you offering it to the right people? And if you think you offer it to the right people, do you really know how they want to receive this information, and do you really know what their dreams and hopes are? So for example, you might have heard like the same message from different people, and everyone is saying it differently, and at one point it makes click and you think, oh, this is what they mean. And the more we talk how they talk, the more likely it is that they understand us. So, and then the next thing, like, are we really communicating our values and what makes it unique? Like, what is really the differentiator and why? And then also, is your team on board? Are your board members on board? Are they all on the same page? And this is why it's so important to document everything so that you have something to really refer to. And so in an ideal case, it would look like this. If you, let's say you have it all documented, all written down, everyone knows what to do, what to say, you are more likely to get everyone on the same page. Like, this is really in theory how it should be. And I know there is no perfect, there's always a better. So let's really, so once you have this figured out, you really see what is going on. And let's talk about, like, now that we have talked about the problems and what you should do, I want to show you how to get there, because that's why we are all here. So learning number 1, the 3 branding pillars. So the 3 branding pillars that every new generation nonprofit needs to identify to create a solid brand foundation. So as mentioned earlier, like, we have been working with nonprofits in the marketing and branding sector for the last, about 10 years. And you know what, branding is sometimes really, it seems to be really complex and complicated. But what we found out after so many years of working, especially with small nonprofits, it really comes down to 3 things. And this is a framework that we have developed, and it's basically 3 things: identity, connection, and impact. So it all starts with identity, and I will go in all of those in detail in the next slides. But as an overview, and maybe you want to screenshot this. So if you have your identity laid out, meaning your values, your purpose, your vision, why you are here, how you tell your story, and how you can really so that you really have a brand personality, the way you talk, the words you use, the pictures you use. So all of this is forms your identity and your unique perspective. So once you have this, it's because it's all about connection. We want to connect with people so that they understand what we are about. And if we are really solid and aligned with ourselves and within the organization, then this creates alignment with the people that we want to connect with. Because it's not just about, we offer a program and this is what we want them to support. They support something because they have specific values as well, and they believe in specific things. So it's really important that they know what are your underlying beliefs. Why are you even offering like this specific service? And I know that you know that, but have you also written it down so that other people can understand it? So once this is done, there is a connection that can be built. So the second pillar, connection, is really about understanding like the audience, like who are you talking to? From your clients to funders, to like supporters in the community. And once this is like aligned, you can create demand. And demand is then followed by impact, because if there is a demand, people want to support. So this then, at this point, you have to think about, okay, other than social media, what other systems and marketing tools can we put into place so that we really achieve our goals and our vision? And then that reflects back to our identity, because we actually create change. And then this, when you get the funding that you need, then of course, like this fuels everything that you do as an organization. So I hope this makes sense. Let's dive into those in detail. So I mentioned like this already in the overview. It all starts here, because if you are not very specific, then you are not standing out. And this is like, you know, you're lost in all the content that people share. So what I would really like, the first step in all of this is really standing for something with a clear vision, a unique perspective, and values that guide your organization from the inside out. You might want to screenshot this. So this sounds like a big goal, and it is, and I think it makes sense. The question, in sense, in this how we communicate this, but how do you actually get there? So I have a lot of examples now that I want to show you to really understand it. I don't know about you, but I'm a visual person and I learn best with examples, so that's what I'm doing here. So for the first, the identity. Like, how do you implement your vision on a day-to-day basis? I would also screenshot this. Do you act from your vision or towards your vision? So this has been mind-blowing to me. There is, I don't know if you've heard about the model. It's called Be, Do, Have, and it's basically most of us work the other way around. We think we need to have something. We think we need to have funding in order to do specific things so that we can be and reach our vision. And this is what we usually, I think this is how we grew up and how we have learned all those things. But actually, what I came to realize is that we have to reverse this, because we have to have the mindset first in order to get all those things. So we need to be first, and then from this perspective, we have to do the things that we need to do, and then we will get what we will have. So that means, for example, if your vision is safe and healthy communities, and you are not there yet, you still have to talk about it in a way that that really makes people believe that you create this safe and healthy community. So I will dive in deeper that on the next slides. So are your values guiding principles for your organization? So a lot of times, like I know like all of you have probably values in your organization, but how are you living them on a day-to-day basis? Is it really implemented in your organization? Like, are those guiding principles when a problem comes up, or other things? Like, how are you really living this? And then, do you have a unique angle to share your story? I think branding can be a little bit scary at one point, because if you stand for something, then people will love you for that. And then there's also the opposite, that will be, or that might be very vocal, expressing their voice and not supporting you. So there's both sides. But if you are not having a specific standpoint, then you will just be lost in the sea of here we are all and sharing content. So what are you standing for or against? And this is a tough question because it's not easy to do this, as I said, because there's always pro and cons. Okay, so I want to give you some examples as promised. So this here is an organization that we work with, Safe Harbor, and they have different programs. They build healthy and safe communities, and they offer shelter, housing, indigenous support, outreach. They have an outreach team, so all those different things. And they have had a problem, and they were focusing, now we talk about audience, they were focusing on mainly the clients that they serve. And of course, this is what they get funding for. But there's always two sides, and you have probably might have noticed that as well, because they are also, of course, active in the community, and especially homelessness has, of course, there's a big controversy, and it's a very complex problem that you can't just solve by, having the shelter somewhere else outside of the city, and it's not as easy as this. So what we did here is we started with looking at the different audiences. So, and here we created actually a brand storyboard, and this is a really cool thing that has like three components to it. So the first component is really looking at the problems. So, and problems here is we have a really concerned community. So you can ask yourself, beyond the clients that you serve, like what are the problems that arise with the things that you where you offer services or programs. So here we have frustrated citizens is the one audience, then we have families, and then we have the person that is in distress and needs help, and then we have taxpayers. So, but in our communication, they were only focused on the clients that they serve and the families. So although they were really focusing on, with their work, on like creating safe communities, in their communication, they were really focused on this one or like those two audiences. So that brought up like very like emotions, feelings, and so on. So, and that also resulted in not getting really the support that they wanted. Like, of course, there's a lot of educational content that needs to be shared. But like really because they were focusing just on this one audience and not on the others, there was like a little bit of an unbalance. So what we have done is like we really found out or like showcased the 5 different things that they were working on and how they were also helping the community with their services. So, and this might be something for you as well to look at. Apart from your main audience, what other audiences do you have or should you have? Like who is maybe concerned about what you do and who is pro? And then really look at this, because at one point you have to, in your messaging, address those concerns as well, because there's always different sides. When you look at a 6, it could also be a 9. So do people see the 9 or the 6? So from here, like after we looked at the different things, we also pointed out that they have an outreach team, and that this outreach team really helps the community. So really looking at your service from different angles, because like for them, it was always clear that they had the outreach team and that they helped their clients, but also how this helps the community in a bigger perspective. So like this is about like really audience. How can you look at different audiences and also look at their feelings, because this is huge, because we want to connect with emotions. Like 95% of everything we do is based on emotions and our subconsciousness. So even if we say specific things, like your gut and heart has already made up their mind. So this is really important to keep in mind. So then I talked about the values and how important it is for your identity and to be aligned. So this is also that example. They have for their values, they have the 7 stars. And while they were always we're talking internally about the 7 stars, once we worked with them, we really figured out what does that actually mean and how can we use it as a guidance. So this is an example of one of the stars. And basically what we have done is we have, first of all, we have explained what we mean with it. So like when you have a value, even like, I don't know if it's integrity or here in that case, relationship, it's important to really write down your version of it. Like, what does it mean? Why is it so important? And then what does it mean? So here for them, we really looked at relationship. They say it's their North Star, it's safe harbor, and it's their first priority. They are committed to sustaining and enhancing connection. We make through all the relationships we establish. So then you can go further and say, okay, if this is our value, what does it mean for our team? What does it mean for our clients or guests or the people we serve? And then what does it really mean for our community? So in this case, community, for example, relationship building in our community ensures collaboration. It provides mutual understanding and path forward. So this came all out. So for you to really follow me on this path, they didn't focus on community, like they focused on community, but not really, they didn't really be specific with it, what their value really actually means. And now this became a guideline for their staff. So they're using it for onboarding, for HR. The part of this is in their key messages. We recently had to release like a press release, and the stars were part of this because, and we could just grab it because we had it already written down. Also, that's important for funders. And the main thing is for me always like connecting on a deeper level. And because when we want to connect on a deeper level, we also, in finding the right people, we need to connect on their beliefs and on their values. So now, like, how can we really create this ecosystem? So I will spend like, I want to show you some examples on this because messaging is so broad, and I don't know about you, but it can also be very confusing. So oftentimes we think we share content and then this is a message. As long as it's not really connected to your vision, it's just a message. So you need really to make it your own, and I will show you how. So what we want to do is, through the connection and the messaging piece, is really become irresistible. And we can do this because we really dive in from our identity and create our messages from there. So this is the second part of the 3 pillars. So the purpose of sharing your message is to create connection. And I don't know about you, but if we talk, there's, I think it's only a very, I forgot the percentage, but a really short percentage that is really focused on words. It's really the action that comes with it, and your body language, and I don't know, your smile, your personality. So, and as an organization, it's sometimes really hard to bring this across, because how can you do this if you're so many? Like, for me as a person, it's already sometimes really hard to do it, and I'm just me. But like, as an organization, it's really important that we have like those overarching things so that everyone can really understand it and talk in the same way. For example, if you have more than one person managing your social media, you don't want to have a different personality, meaning if Marita writes a post, you don't want it to sound very different from Thomas writing a post. So it should sound like the same organization has shared it. Okay, so in order to create real connection, like we need to shift perspectives, and we can only do that when we really think about who are those people that we want to serve. And I want to ask you to shift perspective, and you might want to screenshot this one as well. So a lot of times we ask, especially as nonprofit, how can we get them to help us? How can we increase fundraising? How can we get them to donate to a specific fundraising event or attend? So I want to ask you to shift your perspective, and instead of asking what can they do for you, ask yourself what value can we offer to them. And that value is not in terms of money, of course. It's more in terms of, you know, when I donate to a cause, I do that because I believe in it. And your organization is maybe not, is mainly for me a vehicle. So if I want safe and healthy communities, like in the example before, I not only want to support that organization, I am investing in safe and healthy communities. So this, as a donor, is really my goal. And that organization is a vehicle. So as bad as it sounds, it might not be just your organization that they're interested in, it's the bigger cause. So, and if I see value in it and really see, okay, I can change this life, or I can save this animal, then this really is for me value. It is not that I want money for it, but of course, like I want to, maybe it helps me to be featured as one of the donors, but really, like, how can you shift your thinking from what is the value that we can offer, and then from there, what keywords can we associate with our values? And I will show you in a sec how we did this with one of our clients, and I hope you will get some light bulbs going on. And then based on those keywords, what messages can we create? Okay, so so this is one of our clients, Bridges Community Living, seniors housing. And so I'm going to show you how defining the audience, messaging, and strong visuals helps them to have staff and volunteers become their biggest brand ambassadors, and not only this, but also to position themselves as an organization and to really connect with the residents and the family of the residents. So this is how we started. So first of all, and you might want to screenshot this, we always start with, where are we at? So we need to find out where are we in terms of, because we need to know what problems do we have. So we did a survey, we did interviews, we did an audience deep dive, and what came out of this was there were some connection problems. So like within staff, they really were engaged with the residents, but there was not a big connection to the management. So that was one thing that we found out. And then we did an audience deep dive. And that means we really created, we talked to a couple of residents, and then we created audience personas. I don't know if you have heard about this. You might, like, it's really where you dive in and you think about a specific person that represents your client. So in this case, we identified a family member, we identified a possible funder, or like someone that a donor, and then we identified 2 different residents. So, and because of that, we found out what their issues were, why they would maybe not move into a residence, what they want to see when they move in there. So, and I will show you that on the next slides. But this was really the basis, like finding out, talking to them and writing down, what are your issues? Why do you not, like, what do you want to see when you move in? And why would you maybe not move in? And look at it from different angles. Because the father, the kids, in this case, if they have a parent that needs to go in an assisted living, so what do they want to see and what do they want to know? And from there, we created this strategy, like in this case, a new name. We identified values, the key messages, and like the way they want to come across, like funny, serious, and so on. And then the last step was the guidelines. So, and oftentimes we think about, as I mentioned earlier, about colors and fonts and all of this, but this really comes at the end. So you can screenshot this if you like. This is like a framework. On the top, you can see the brand values that came out of our research and out of conversations with the board afterwards. Significance, valuable, connection, contribution, trust. So, and this is so important because based on this, we developed all the key messages, and based on this, they're using this as a framework for their social media, for example, later on. So then we identified, what does valuable mean? We identified, what does connection mean? For example, to join, link, fasten together, unite, or bind, like some words we really looked up in the dictionary, like what does it mean? And then we brainstormed keywords, bridges, pathway, collaboration, partnership, alliance, together. And based on that, we thought, okay, with these words, what images can we share that match, that show connection? For example, bus transportation, residents chatting with each other, residents in a common area playing games, having lunch and supper together. So we did this for all those different values. And I hope like this when I see like a framework like this, it really makes me say, oh, this is how they did it. Because if you only see pictures, you don't know how they got there. But this is how you do it. Like brand values, define it, find keywords, and then look for the images. So these were images that we identified, and then we took those images, we went in and we took pictures that really aligned with this. And then based on that, we created the key messages. So you can screenshot that too if you like. The key messages are really in this words, in this sense, having like those key messages integrated in complete sentences so that we really have something to say. And this also, you can see it was audience one. We had different audiences and they all have different key messages. So, and when I talked, when I showed you like the three pillars, like this is what alignment actually looks like. You can also screenshot that if you like. So for example, identity, we have like seniors 55 plus, and then this aligns with our purpose. And then we have, so basically on the left side, we have the audience, and on the right side, we have the organization. So take a screenshot of this, and I hope this, because it really, really helps like to have really a framework how you can, where you can put all those things. Because once we went all through this, and I put together like this framework that really helped. And the end, like we look, okay, what colors can we use for this? I think this is like the easy part that you probably know already, so I won't talk further about this. So brand personality. So this really was about like how, like once we talked about the personality, we came up, you know what? This feels like June. So we created June, and June is now, she goes out, she is part of the team. And when I talked in the beginning and said they had issues like connecting from management to staff, because they had all those values and the key messages created, now they have more something to talk about or like to focus on. They have guidelines in place, and they have a structure, but they also connected this emotionally, and June, it was like a really big part of that. So now I want to dive into the last pillar, and that is the right systems. So so from everyday exhausting and disjointed tactics, really like looking, how can you put this in a strategy? And I know, like for me, I'm a creative person, and sometimes I think like, oh, strategy, I just want to be creative. But you can be more creative and better and more effective if you have a strategy. So, and this is really how you can create like a marketing and fundraising system. And so this is usually when we don't have all those things in place that I just talked about. So basically, like the three pillars that I shared, once those dots here are filled out, like this is all, you have it step by step. So if you don't do this, And usually that happens in the beginning when I said we just share content. Oftentimes we forget the missing pieces, and I will show you what they are. And so your message, your design, your positioning, your strategy. So all of this, which is part of the first identity, and the second pillar, connection, like this is all, everything that you need in order really to use your tactics in an effective way. So how do you get there? Overarching goals and themes, and then identify the best strategy. And from that, identify process and systems. So maybe you can, for example, for onboarding new stuff, like maybe there's an option where you can really automate something. Maybe you can create videos. That's what we did with Safe Harbor, or are doing currently. Based on all those things that we have developed, we are creating automations and systems so that we have more time for individual connection. So you might want to screenshot this as well. This is just for you as an overview, because it's sometimes, I don't know about you, it's really confusing, like what really is the goal, objective, strategy, tactics. So really from the bigger goal, identifying how to make it measurable, and then how do you get there, because strategy can be many things. It's not just your social media. It's you could go into podcasting, you could go into building strategic relationships. There's like many things what you can do. So as an example from a different client here, so a goal could be to really become a primary resource in crime prevention education in Canada. And then the objective for this would be very specific, to create a 5-level membership program with free and paid options and increase membership by 300 members by December 2021. So this is like from overarching goal to a very specific objective. And from there, as an example, like you can explore different strategies on how to do this. So they could look into strategic partnerships. I would say like definitely identify audience and the membership needs. So this is also part of the strategy. And then develop program with funding members. So this is like the broader strategy and how they want to do it. And then looking one level deeper, how can you, like, what are the tactics really that you can use in order to get there? So for them, it would be create a survey for current members to really find out what are the needs. And then use social media and Instagram to promote the survey. So really like thinking in those buckets and then taking one goal at a time and break it down. So this is like for specific things. Now you might ask, okay, this is cool, Kirsten, but what about day-to-day? What about day-to-day social media? So, and so this is really where I saw, like when we went with Bridges Community Living through the process, this is really where things start to shine, because all the strategies and key messages are great, but the question you might have is, okay, what do I do that now on a day-to-day basis? So, and so as an example, like what content can you create that aligns with your key messages and vision? So when you remember, like on one of the other slides, I talked about that one of their values is connection. So now look at one of your values. So a focus for them now is to show connection on social media. So what does connection look like? It could be like showing what the residents do together. So on the screen, you have a recreational activity that they did. Then they show connection within the staff when they communicate with each other. You can also think about, if we use Instagram, for example, and I do a reel, what could connection look like? So really thinking about it from those different angles, and then also think about what are different media that I can use. How can we do this in a video? And for example, how can you create a dialogue rather than posting content? Because especially if you want to create connection, what we all want, because this is where magic things happen, you might want to look into for example, Facebook Lives or podcasts or Instagram Lives, any way where you can really come from those values and key messages and look at it from different angles and start a conversation. And then think about who can you partner with, who has similar values and a shared vision. And this is so crucial also for fundraising, because if you don't know that and have it laid out, how can you find partners that really connect with you? Because as I mentioned, like, of course they want to see, like they want to support your programs, but also they want to know that your beliefs and your values are the same as theirs. So this is like overall like the whole 3 steps. And for you as a takeaway, like really looking at what is your aligned identity? Is your organization, like your organization's identity is the key to building a strong foundation for your marketing and fundraising. I hope that really made sense how I laid it out for you. And then based on that, building real connections. Like people want to connect with people. It's like they don't want to hear, they don't want to see a perfect feed. They don't want to see, you know, like more content. They want to really find out like, who are you and how can they help you? So really the emphasis of how can you connect emotionally with them. And then the last part, like really creating impact and change, because like once you connect this and have figured it out, like then this is where the magic happens. So I think this, let's see what the next slide is here. Question and answer. Yay. So I want to pass this back on to Mary, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, and I hope you have many.
Thanks so much, Kristen. Again, if you're watching this live, please add your questions in the question box that's on the right of your screen. And I have a couple to start us off here. Kristen, you talked about the importance of knowing your audience. Can you share tips on how to clearly identify your core audience? So who can you reach out to? How do you know who to reach out to find out more about what they care about?
Yeah, excellent question. So different ways. So first of all, you can look in your, I always like to connect with real people. So you can talk to clients that you already have. I personally like really talking to them, doing an interview. You can do also a survey. You can look into your Google data, for example. If you have Google Analytics installed, like you can see like the broader range, like how many people, like what do they do? What is the age range? You can also see, like when you are on social media, and look in your analytics, like who are they? And really connecting with them, like use the tools and ask them. And then they will get back to you. Like this is really the best way to do it. And I also suggest like to do like a kind of a persona, how we did with British Community Living, like really finding out like what is it that drives them, what are their hopes, their dreams, and finding out the language that they speak.
Excellent, thank you so much. Question here. Are there any social media metric sites or programs that you use or recommend?
Oh, but I have used so many. So I know Hootsuite is one that I still use. Other than that, there are, I don't know, I've used Publa in the past. I have used like really straight from, I think Canva has one as well. For Instagram, for example, I use really the analytics that Instagram has, and also for Facebook. So this is really what I usually use. But for posting, there are so many different options. I still, as I said, I still use Hootsuite a lot. Try different things, but always came back to this one.
Awesome, thank you. So following up on audience personas, do you have a process or template to create a persona? Do you have any specific questions that we should be asking?
I have a template. I have not included in here, but of course I could share it if there's interest. And what was the second question, Mary, from the persona?
Yeah, do you have any specific questions that we should be asking?
Oh, yes, yeah. So ask about like what are they concerned of, and really try to get the language that they use and use that in your communication. So what are you concerned of, and then related to your cause. What are your, like, I'm looking for hopes and dreams, like what is it that you would like to achieve in the future. I can look up the template and share it later on. So, but really finding out in terms of hopes, dreams, concerns, and objections. Hopes, dreams, concerns, objections. So I would ask about those things, and really like capture their original tone. Because this is when you start about, if somebody says, oh, I really don't know what to post, and I say, oh, you are struggling with posting. No, this is not what I said. I don't know what to post. So really using their language, because this is when you have the, when people say, oh, I have the feeling you can read my minds. And this is what we want.
Yeah, so also, Kristen, for your follow-up blog post, we can perhaps include process and complete more information. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, lots of questions coming in. So next one. How often are keywords and overall messaging revisited in order to prevent staleness? So when not working within a specific limited time campaign.
Yeah, so we revisit them. So we have a document that we always use and we add to that. So when you have a key message, it doesn't mean that you use that key message over and over again. Like the more you want to have, you have your keywords, and I would say revisiting them on a yearly basis and really looking, does it still align? Because branding is not like a do it once and set it and forget it thing. It's more a framework that you have to do over and over and over again, because you will refine it over the time. So you might add words, you might start with some words, and then you think, and then you see that your audience are using different words or maybe in a different way. So you start adapting that and you add to it. And then I would, like, we have a process where we go like every year, like we review it and we say, okay, like this is not working out, maybe let's take this out and add this in. But I would really like suggest to have a document where you gather all of this and add to it, so that it's really a living thing that everyone can use.
Great. All right, so next question here. How important is it that the senior leadership is seen as championing the brand process?
I would say it's crucial, because it all starts, like it all comes together. If you work for an organization and you are not sure if everyone is speaking the same language or is on the same boat, speaks the same message and has and is guiding you, like how can you expect that staff and volunteers are really on the same page too? So like everyone needs to be on the same page and needs to be the brand ambassador, and especially the leadership team, because like this is where it all starts. They are out there, they are the thought leaders and talking about the cause. They are the people that others look up to. So if they are not embracing this, it's really hard for the rest to follow.
Great, thank you. A question on rebranding here.
Yes.
How do you successfully rebrand an organization? So potentially rename it and change the visual identity.
Yeah, so yeah, we have been like with this example that I mentioned in the presentation, we went through the whole process from the former name was Piper Creek Foundation. So it was really confusing. So where you start is survey and really find out what are the problems, what are people thinking, not just about the name, but really about the organization. And so this is then, because you need something, you need a report where you can say, okay, this is, as a matter of fact, like this is where we are at right now, because you need everyone in your organization on the same page. So once step one, this is done, you start your rebranding process. Like this would be like a topic for a whole different presentation, but it's very important that you have parameters for the renaming, that you know. We don't want, for example, an acronym. It can't be more than, I don't know, 3 words. It needs to be something that is reflecting our value. So like you need a whole set of parameters. And then I would also suggest to have someone guide you through the process. We have worked with a different client, and it's always, you know, you're sitting in your own jar and you can't read your own label. You are, it's really hard to do it this way. You need someone else to show you from the outside and guide you through. So that then once you have that and go through the process and have the new name, then you start also revisiting, because you talk about, you do the same things, basically interviews with board members, with staff, with volunteers, with clients, and that really shows you the direction of where you want to go. And based on that, you then create all those other things and messages.
So just a little digging a little deeper into this rebranding, how much time would you expect for planning and executing? And also, can you share kind of an estimate of what a budget would be for branding consultant throughout this process?
Yeah, so I would say, like, it depends. It can be really fast. It can be like 3 months. It can also be a year. It depends on your organization, how fast and agile you are, and how quick you get everyone on the board. So like and also like the rebranding consulting fee depends on the scope, of course. Like, is it, for example, in this case that I showed, it was really everything. If it's just the renaming, it could be, I don't know, it could be like a 10,000 budget, but it always depends. Like, it can be like from 10 to, I don't know, 60,000, depending on what is included. Like, and then if you add like website and all the marketing collateral, of course, this is more. But yeah, so we have come up with a program, because like usually one-on-one, this is what we do. We also will be doing like a branding program for small nonprofits. And so this will be like a guided thing, which is of course way less expensive than the regular branding process.
Great. So I think we have time for probably two more questions. Can you share any strategies or advice on how nonprofits can create more of a two-way conversations versus just broadcasting their messages?
Yeah, this is great. So I think especially now with all those tools that we can use, like with Instagram Live or Facebook Live, even YouTube Live, like look into partnerships and collaborations. Who can you talk with to just start a conversation? It could also be like clients, it could be staff, volunteers, and then like finding like a common ground and talk about it. And I would say make this part of your communication strategy. Like, if you have a plan, like your next 3 months, have topics that you can talk about. If it's, for example, a mental health awareness month, then you can say, okay, who can we talk to? And then maybe it's like a conversation that you do live. And from this live, this is also a really cool trick. From this live, you record this, and then you can create, let's say if it's a 30-minute conversation, from that you can create smaller, let's say 2 to 3 video clips. And from that you can create quotes. You can transcribe it as a blog post or as a post on social media. So there's different ways on how to do it. And really look in your community. Who can you talk to? Who can you start a conversation with? And not just in the nonprofit world, but like look at organizations that are out there, other businesses. And because a lot of them want to support nonprofit and they are looking for a social cause, but they don't know how to find them. So reach out and ask them, and really prepare something that that you can do, like a little playbook. Start a conversation on social media, like DM them, introduce you, say what you're up to. Like, I think we are only using like social media really just to broadcast, but really what it is like finding connections. Like, just DM people, like asking them things and start the conversation. Like, this is really a good tool to do this. and then you can then you can do something together like this.
Great. Well, you know what? Thanks so much, Kristen. That's it for time, unfortunately. But if we didn't get to your question, keep your eye out for Kristen's follow-up blog post. We'll also be sharing the recording and the PowerPoint shortly after as well. So, Kristen, I look forward to reading your thoughts on the follow-up blog post. You can get in touch, follow and connect with Kristen on LinkedIn, or email her at Kristen@nonprofittoday. And also Kristen has shared a link to a resource that you can download. You can get from the PowerPoint directly. Feel free to check out webinars from the rest of the series on our website, and you'll find information about events such as our Nonprofits at 2 and how to become a CCBO member. And finally, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Land Solutions and Altitude Communications, to the CCBO team who worked behind the scenes to produce this webinar, and also to you, the audience, for spending this time with us. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.